rise up through the ranks based on how many terms you've served, and that they're not willing to upend that even at this moment. That seniority trumps everything else. And so, because there's a very the incentive for each member of Congress is to support the seniority system because it's not a merit system. It just means if you stick around long enough,
it doesn't matter if you suck.
It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. You will eventually get your turn. As Connolly called it, he said, "I've never gotten to be a ranking member."
Don't ask Steny Hoyer about that, though.
Well, yeah, at the very top, then you got to compete. And yes, because he had 6 years of seniority on Pelosi, who he allegedly went on a date when they were interns back in the 50s. Which is hilarious. It was the 50s. It was interning for a Maryland senator.
Genuinely hilarious. Before the Civil Rights Act is when they actually went on a date. Yeah.
Even before the 57 Civil Rights Act. In any event, so she's saying that she wouldn't have a chance. And I think losing once is, hey, you take your shot, you show you're playing the inside, willing to play the inside game, you maybe even have a shot at winning. You lose, then you go out and go back to what you were doing. You lose twice, you start to get the stench of loser on you. So she's just not going to go for it this time.
And this is becoming something of a panic because we have this other clip. This is D2. So not only was Bill Maher pushing back vociferously in that clip to Kevin McCarthy's point, in a way that, I think maybe did reek of a little bit of, I shouldn't say little, but significant concern.
Yeah, wishful thinking in his part.
Right.
Please tell me this can't be true.
Well, and this is an interesting divide on the right, is that you have people like Kevin McCarthy, who I think are accurately pointing out that this is where the energy is on the left. And then you have people who say, AOC's political career on a national level is dead in the water. She is a joke. She's way too radical. But it's both of those things can't be true at the same time. And so there's some people on the right who are like, it's AOC. And then, but also AOC is a disaster for Democrats. So let's go ahead and roll D2. This is part of an MSNBC panel where they started to talk about this.
They've got to get out of the policy discussion and the policy fight and focus on a purpose. They've got to broaden the party, and they've got to go with a 40-year-old because they do well with Obama, Jack Kennedy, Bill Clinton.
Right.
And they've got to, they've got to get, so to me, I would get in a room and call a summit, and I would say, hey, guys.
To identify this person?
Well, no, just to knock off the
Gretchen Whitmer hides behind a clipboard? That's the face of the Democrat Party?
See, the Democratic Party will never listen to Aaron, but they should hear Aaron and say the following. You guys are in disarray. You're having a civil war. You're going hard left with AOC and Bernie. Very bad mistake. Country doesn't want that.
Right.
I can't tell by the rallies.
Get in it.
In Idaho, 12,000 people.
That's okay.
I'm not saying it's not the answer.
Kamala had great rallies. She lost all 7 states.
I know, but to his point, look, California, we got 26,000 people, 20,000 in Salt Lake City, 36,000 in California, 12,000 in Idaho, Denver, Colorado, 34,000, Tucson, Arizona, 23,000.
That ain't it.
Well, I mean,
Listen, what the Democrats need to do is empower the Alyssa Slockins, the Tim Ryans, the Seth Moultons, the moderate young Democrats that they've been head patting for the last 10 years and saying, just wait your turn.
Yeah, but
when is it their turn?
But let me ask, all of those people, do you think any of those people have what it takes to run for president and win?
No, because the Democratic Party has not conditioned them.
No. I mean, in a perfect world, do they really have what it takes to run for president of these United States and win?
Well, I
think
believe
they're great.
They're
great Senate candidates. They're great.
No, I think they have a better chance than the progressives and the far left people that alienate
Hillary Clinton,
voters.
Barack.
I feel like Stefan watching that clip, like this MSN or the CNN panel, that's what it was, has everything. It has Anthony Scaramucci, a man in a cowboy hat, and S.E. Cupp in a denim jumpsuit screaming about Alyssa Slotkin.
Well, it's such a funny network.
For.
It's such a funny network because, and MSNBC is almost the same, that it's a center-left network, and they've been covering the Democratic Party sympathetically for 10 years, 10 plus years. Yeah. And Bernie Sanders rose in 2015, and they still don't have, as far as I can tell, so definitely not in that panel, I don't think anywhere on the network, somebody who aligns with that major faction of the party.
Yeah,
it's
not
just
somebody...
people like looking at them like zoo creatures.
They have like Bernie Curious people, maybe like a Van Jones.
Van Jones.
I know.
He just took he took $100 million from Jeff Bezos a couple years ago.
Yeah. And so this isn't.
He was a Maoist in like the 90s. He was literally like a Maoist activist in San Francisco.
Yeah. It was why he was.
If you had him on,
then,
that would be fun.
Admin.
They didn't have him on then.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. There are this is again, it's something that a lot of people on the right don't understand about these networks. They are center left, but they just actually hate the left.
Yeah.
It's almost more than they hate the center right, given that Anthony Scaramucci was on that panel. Let's take a look at AOC being disrupted by protesters. I think this was at a town hall. This is D3.
To defend, and you don't even know what you're doing about the genocide in Gaza. You're a war
So sorry, that was pretty hard to hear, but you probably saw clips of it going around. Basically, it's somebody protesting her at a town hall saying, you're a war criminal.
Yeah.
What are you going to do about the genocide in Palestine, the genocide in Gaza? And I do think for maybe ever, but for a very long time, she's going to have to answer, for her convention speech where she said that Kamala Harris is working tirelessly for a ceasefire. Because at the time, nobody really believed that she was working tirelessly for a ceasefire, nor that Biden was working tirelessly for a ceasefire. We've since had Israeli officials come out and say, yeah, the Biden administration never actually pressured us to reach a ceasefire. So it raises the question of, was the Biden administration lying to AOC, or was she lying to the DNC? And if they were lying to her, why couldn't she see that it was a lie? That day, I believe it was, or maybe it was the next. It was the next day at a protest or at a public event in where was it? Chicago. Ilhan Omar spoke at a rally where she said, they're not working tirelessly. She quoted AOC.
Yeah.
Her fellow squad members quoted her saying they're not working tirelessly, and Omar brought that up again in the last couple of weeks, saying, they lied to us when they said they were working tirelessly, and she's kind of direct shots at AOC, and she's never, as far as I've seen, kind of confronted that directly. So if she does end up running for president, that's going to be something that she's going to have to address.
Oh yeah.
What was her? Because she has been, she took a week or two longer than some others to use the word genocide, but she said it very early. She was one of the first sponsors of a ceasefire resolution.
Yeah.
But then she takes some other votes that get people frustrated. So, from her perspective, she's basically done everything she can. From the perspective of her critics, she's lying about the Biden administration working to quote unquote working tirelessly toward a ceasefire and undermining pressure on the Biden administration to actually do that.
Yeah. And when we were on the ground at the DNC, it was easy to sense a lot of cynicism about AOC among the people that we were talking to. Let's put D4 up on the screen because this is another sort of shot in the arm, perhaps for the ascendant left. Brian Kemp announced yesterday, Georgia governor, that he will not be running for Senate. And the New York Times headline actually adds, Ossoff's team must have been stoked about this headline, quote, giving Ossoff a lift. Ossoff Nation is rising up. We'll put D5 here on the screen, Ryan, and maybe you can explain it for the offline left.
Yeah, old Ettingermentum. So among his many posts about this yesterday, he's saying an Ossoff-Vance race in 2028 would be similar to JFK-Nixon.
Yeah.
So comparing Ossoff to JFK and Vance to Nixon. Nixon in 60. Not that, I don't think it's that off in an interesting way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not crazy.
There's a lot of cynicism about Ossoff, but like I've said on this show before, you look into his actual record. Investigative journalist, and has run as a pretty strong kind of populist progressive in Georgia. He didn't use the terms like Green New Deal and Medicare for All, but when you look at what he was saying, he was supportive of those basic ideas, but talking about them in a way that he thought would resonate with, majority